My name's Shay. This is the Iterate Podcast. We're here today with Mohit and Parth of Abilitare. Do you guys want to give a little intro as to what Abilitare is and kind of just talk through like what you guys are working on?
Sure. So we at Abilitare help those with hand disabilities who can't use their hands or fingers for using phones and computers with hands-free control of phones and computers. And how we do this is we have a wearable sensor right here, and this tracks your head movements as you look up, down, left, right. And instead of using your hands to move around the mouse, you can then move around the mouse with just your head movements. Right. So for if someone has spinal cord injuries, paralysis, wrist injuries, so they can't type or use their mouse cursor or even touch screens. So this is an alternative to that.
Got you. That's awesome.
And our mission, just to iterate, is using this, we want to actually get them digital independence back. So as Parth mentioned, if you are cut out from using your hands, basically you are not just cut out from your computer or phone, but you are cut out from doing your job efficiently, going to college and having independent classroom experience, right? And even simple as texting someone within your family.
Right.
We want to provide them means to get back contributing to the society.
Got you. Awesome. So that's the context as to what you guys are working on now, right? And we'll come back to this. But right now, let's kind of zoom back.
Sure.
How did you guys get started in entrepreneurship? Where are you from? You go first, Parth. Just give us some context as to who you are, where you're from, and how you kind of got to where you are today.
Right. So I'm saying this for both of us, actually. We are both from India. And India, we went to the same undergraduate college. And although we were in different campuses and we didn't actually meet there. But when we came here, both of us came here for our masters at UF in 2019. And we had that instant connect because we were from the same background back home. So that's how we met. I did my master's in computer science, and Mohit did his master's in electronics here at UF. And we came in this August 2019, and in December 2019, like just a few months after that, me and Mohit were talking about, and we realized we think very much alike, and we both are sort of going in that direction of we want to start a startup and let's try something, And the 1.5 years of our masters basically gave us time to explore.
Awesome. So, had you guys had any experience with entrepreneurship before starting this company, or no? This was your first foray into doing that.
Mohit did have.
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
We both went at it back 4 to 5 years before we came here. We gave it a shot. We both had we tried
and this
starting
is separate.
up.
We hadn't met. We don't know each other at all. And but yeah, this is separate.
So I tried a shot at one of the ventures in Pune. I went at
a city in India.
City in India. But that wasn't really my passion, and it shows that I chose to go back to college and not continue with the venture. That shows I wasn't really committed to it,
to that particular industry
and the problem statement. We were so totally different domain. When coming here, the things were much different. There are two parts personally for me, and I think it's same for Parth. There is a engineering drive in us, we want to make cool technology happen. We want to do something and implement something that seems not possible right now. That is one drive that drives us. But then we also we had the same kind of model that the application or our work should actually improve someone's life or contribute to betterment of human life in some way. And if you look at our research background, it kind of clearly shows. So I still do my research in brain-computer interface and basically more of neuroscience and engineering intersection. Now, Parth's focus has been AI and deep learning and all the cutting-edge computer science stuff, right? but his application projects were also in smart ICU, biomedical sciences. So we had this kind of intersection between, okay, where is the application and where is the value created, and what is actually we get out of it. Like,
Right.
it makes us happy to see something cool happening in front of us.
Totally. So, okay, so when you guys met, after how long did you kind of come up with this idea and then start actually pursuing it?
Around 3 or 4 months. Yeah. So, and our first basically a team experience was a college project. We were in the same course, and it was nothing related to what we do, but it was just interesting to see how we worked in a team dynamic.
Right.
Because generally I don't know, but this is my general experience in normal class projects, other class projects, that there's always one person who does all the work.
Not always, for sure.
And no one else gives a shit on it. But that's not how it was. Like, we really enjoyed working with each other, and naturally took up tasks. And there was no point where we decided, okay, you know what, you will be responsible for this,
Right.
you would be responsible for this. But we naturally sort of worked well as a team. And that's when we were like, okay, I did enjoy this experience, let's take it further.
Right. So, in that group experience, was it more than just you two?
Yep. Yes.
So it kind of just turned into two of you doing all the work and the rest of them did whatever.
Not exactly.
No?
Yeah, so
that team didn't continue as a
Gosh.
complete team for
Right.
startup, because the other teammates had different priorities.
Right.
They were not really into launching into entrepreneurship.
Right.
yeah, but fantastic team actually.
Exactly.
We enjoyed the
Dope.
process. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that brings us December, and that's around when big idea registrations were going on.
Right.
We had spent 4 months, so we were kind of now into the Gainesville ecosystem. We knew some stuff, we knew some people, and that's how we found out, okay, there is this big idea competition and let's go for it. And that's when we actually first registered as a team, two of us, but that was under a different name that you know already.
Right.
We might get into that later.
Yeah.
But that's when we started. First time we actually decided, okay, this is a problem statement out there that we might be able to go and offer some value, and let's start thinking about it in a planned and structured way.
Okay, so I guess just to give people a little more context, like, was it in this club or the class that you guys were taking that you came up with this idea, or was it after that? Like, when did the actual impetus of the idea come to fruition? I guess when did that start?
So it started with Mohit's research. His research, as I mentioned before, is in brain-computer interfaces. So there is something called as EEG headband, headset. That's electroencephalography, where the wearer has a few electrodes on his head, and the electrodes measure brain activity.
Right.
And he has actually a couple of years of research experience in that. He has published a few papers in that regard. So it is basically using these signals to sort of control other devices. Like maybe it's a wheelchair, computer, whatever. You're thinking of something, and the device detects that and tries to do something with it. So it was there that he's like, okay, let's try this out. I know there's this big idea competition. We should take this idea and put it into use. And I got all excited about it because it's like X-Men, right? You can think of something and do stuff with it. So that's what got me really excited. And we went through all the rigors of the big idea competition, and that's I really enjoyed it.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's all about okay, you have an idea, it's a cool project to do, but would it actually work as a business?
Right.
And the competition and Professor Brent Burdi there, he forced us to think about a lot of aspects that I wouldn't have thought about if I were just going it randomly on my own. And that's where we figured out, oh, okay, so the first class he teaches one concept where he says like idea is not equal to opportunity, and
Right.
that's the basic. So you have to think about, okay, you have this idea, but is this actually going to create value in the market?
Right.
And that's where we got a shot.
Got you.
And those 4 months that he mentioned, like going back and forth with each week's lectures within Big Idea, so that's where that change happened, where we had an idea. And through research projects, we knew that controlling computers using anything using except hands, basically, we knew that had a problem statement. Like, it was addressing an issue that was legit out there, right? Our solution to that was BCI as first, and while iterating through those classes, we kind of molded our thought process in the more entrepreneurial way. Okay, what is the problem statement? Let's fall in love with the problem, not the solution, as they say. So that was the big takeaway for me, at least.
Yes, especially so we like the biggest thing that we did is actually talk to users, like talk to real people out there, what their and listen basically what their problems are and what solutions they have already tried, and is it good enough or not. And that is how we figured out the correct product market fit, or rather the void we want to fill in the market, like what solutions exist versus what don't exist, and say, okay, this is something that we should be solving.
Right. That's awesome. So I guess let's go back to the big idea competition for a second. Throughout that experience, you said that you guys kind of gained a better idea as to, what parts of the idea you should kind of be focusing on. Do you think that out of that experience, you kind of gained some mentors? Because I know, like, in entrepreneurship, mentorship is pretty important. And if you did, like, who were some of those mentors, and like, what was that experience like, sharing this idea that you'd been working on but hadn't really, brought to market or anything? What was that like?
So I'll go first. Definitely Parth will add his perspective. So big idea was kind of what got us started. And it meant, it also pushed us to hit some milestones week to week. Big ideas where we actually came up with a plan and what we needed to do, right? But more than that, the interactive experience was, as you said, very crucial. Like, that is the first time when we went out to people like Jamie, Dr. Bertie, who are actually veterans, who can judge a plan, a business idea, and we spoke to them, right? And they were quite motivational. Luckily, even though EEG seems like a futuristic technology, Dr. Bertie has a professional background in EEG manufacturing and medical devices. So he was super supportive.
That's a useful person.
Exactly. Luckily bouncing into him, and he actually didn't shoot down anything or anything. Yeah, exactly. That actually made us, even if it sounds a little out of limit, let's go and try it out. And after big idea, in the first big idea, I think we just made final 16.
We had 2 tries actually. So first time we made it to
final 16 in 2020. But that made us realize, we need to go at it with more dedication, and we got into Gator Hatchery. So past 1 year, summer 2020 to summer 2021, Gator Hatchery and everything in there were basically our mentors.
Right, got you. Awesome. Do you have anything else to say about like mentors or?
Also, so through Gator Hatchery, we met Kyle. From Launder, Kyle and Michael.
Right,
They were very helpful. We also talked to Trevor.
Aiden.
Right.
We met Aiden.
Admiral.
Absolutely. And there are several alumni they connected us to. Like Bruce Brandes is there. I think Matt Browner is there. So all of those guys, we got a meeting with them, and actually they listened to us even at the idea stage and discussed with us for more than an hour or so. That was thanks to all our mentorship.
Right. Awesome. Okay. Something you guys mentioned, something that we've talked about before, has been the importance of your experience talking to the actual customers. And I'm sure that's been probably like a, like a guiding light, I guess, in
definitely
like any founder's journey, because at the end of the day, if the customer doesn't like the product, you don't have a business, So what was the process like of finding people to actually validate your idea with, and what has some of the feedback kind of been to the work that you guys have been doing?
Yeah, I think the first part Mohit should go on,
Yeah,
and I can talk on the second part.
This is super funny experience. So we are 1 month into business plan competition, right? We have some structures written down. We have general idea of what we can propose, but we haven't spoken to anybody yet. And I have to thank Parth because he wouldn't budge. Like he refused to take any step before he spoke to one of the people, and it wasn't really easy because both of us we are in US just for 5 months at that point, right?
Right.
We don't know many people. All our contacts are in engineering. Luckily, out of Master Library, one of the PhD students from computer science department was having a lunch with his wife, and he is let's not mention his name, but he has a neurological conditions that has his hands are not accurately functional and underdeveloped. So he uses assistive technology for his education. He's a PhD student, I just mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, in maths.
Yep, in maths.
Got you.
And so I just went to talk to him, and if you know our setting, Krishna lunch and everything happens just in the neighborhood. So first he just shooed me away. He thought I was trying to sell him something from Krishna people, of course, because of but yeah, and I just pushed through. Okay, I'm not selling you anything. I'm just an engineering student. I just want to discuss. That's when he kind of listened to what I was trying to say about Parth. Like I introduced quickly. Okay, we are two dudes thinking about this problem, and we just need to talk to you and see what your issues are. And then he gave us a meeting, and we spoke to both him and his wife, and they told us a lot of things that kind of made us aware how huge the problem on individual level is for them.
Right, and the major part is like the problem here is that we don't know the problem statement because we haven't lived it.
Right.
So that was the main aspect that we got to know. Like even if when we had no solution like ready, like no prototype, nothing, just talking to them, we learned a lot about how a particular lifestyle needs particular solutions.
Right.
So he told us about how he uses computers and phones and how important that is. Like in research, your only job is to think about stuff and put them into typing, right? So like computer usage is key there. And how he manages his, like career and research and how he solves those problems. It was just very enlightening to listen to. And going forward, like that was our first user experience, but after that we have been fortunate to talk to many, thanks to Mohit actually. He just goes out there and brings a lot of people into the fold, and many of those users have become semi-product designers at this point. So they're like, okay, this is what I want. That is what I want. This is where the product is not very good, but this is where it shines. And so that feedback, basically, that's all that we have to go on.
Right. Awesome.
And it also showed us a very important thing about disabled community as a whole. Like after the first point, it has been a chain reaction. Like first person directed us to the next one, you should go talk to him. They took our call, and then they directed us to some of the support groups, eventually the non-profit organizations they are part of. So we were supported by their community, and it shows a lot more dire problem that people are not really looking out for the disabled community. That's a really
like the technology that they use is 20 years old.
Really?
Yes. There's so many providers out there who haven't updated their website for like 10 years.
Wow.
Because that's how old the technology is. And it's just as if like the rest of the world is going forward, but disability tech is just stuck in 90s.
Right. That's so you guys weren't really aware of just how big a hole in the market there was Wow. Yeah. That's a pretty cool thing to kind of, like, not cool for them obviously, but like, a big opportunity that you've kind of stumbled upon. That's dope. So something we've kind of talked about, like how things have worked well since you guys have started, but what's been the biggest challenge that you've kind of encountered so far? Maybe not one, but what have been some of the biggest challenges?
One of the biggest challenges that we have had, and that's what sort of prevented me initially to make the jump, was the visa situation.
Right.
Because we are international students, we came here for our masters, and we are on the F1 visa, and it was just like already as international students we have to face a lot of uncertainties and anxieties about whether we'll get a job after graduation. If we don't, then how will we recoup all the investments, because education in US is very expensive, and the only way to recoup repay our loans, etc., is to get a job in US. Like if I went back to India, it will be really, really difficult to basically get back what I put in. So that way we face a lot of anxiety, and on top of that, like you have no guarantee of any returns whatsoever if you start a startup. So that added a lot of anxiety, especially if I don't have a visa, or if that's not taken care of, I can't work on my startup at all. So till we got that sorted out, and I'm thankful that is all now fixed. That was one of the biggest sources of stress for me initially.
Right. Got you.
The same, like that experience is shared, and on top of that, like we both were in the middle of all of this during COVID. So when we were starting out, everything was remote. So first difficulty was actually interacting with people. So we had to do everything via Zoom. Luckily, we pushed through that.
By the way, that's very ironic, because you're trying to reach them through a channel
that they can't use.
They can't use, exactly.
Right. That's wild. Yeah.
And same goes for our team, right? We have a hardware plus software. There are so many aspects to it.
Right.
I'm really impressed with ourselves and the team, like the way we have managed to work throughout this remote situation. But yeah, that also was one of the pressure points.
Okay. Speaking of team building, can you talk about what the process was like of bringing people on to the team in the US, and then also, building the team in India? Because I know you guys kind of have like a twofold like process going there. Can you like speak through like how you did that and what the experience has been like?
Right. So we basically our main source of talent has been our juniors, right? In UF as well as in the undergrad college. I just mentioned we are from the same undergrad college in India, back in India. So, and that's where we have already know people, we're comfortable, we know how it goes in that environment. So it's just like talking to juniors and their juniors in our college in India, and same here in UF, and we found really good talent, and that's how we started. Mohit, you want to add?
And it kind of evolving process for us. So initially Parth was, so for our first prototype everything was done by Parth, and immediately after that we realized, okay, we can't do this on our own, like we need actual manpower. And then just two of our juniors joined us to help out. There was no formal really
it's not even a company at this point. We're just a group.
So two people join in, then we work with them for a couple of months, and actually word spreads that okay, this is some enjoyable cool thing, and then more people join in. Same happened with UF. So we were a client for some of the courses, and 5-6 teams out of the course, 2 of them really got interested with actually the core value, and they joined us to work on it later after the course ended. So I think it has been a response from like both ends. Like we also were looking for help and people, but it kind of grew out of word of mouth.
Right. Well, I want to come back to the team building part in a second, because I also kind of want to hear about what the process was like, kind of learning how to manage people, because I feel like for a lot of technical people that's not something that comes naturally, the whole people side of things, right? So we'll talk about that in 1 second, but something that I'm kind of curious about is when you guys started and had this idea, like I know you kind of already had some interest in entrepreneurship, but when you figured out that this was something that you could potentially work on, was the original intention to just solve the problem or to actually build up a business, you know?
Both.
Right.
Both, yeah. So one part of us was saying that I'm an engineer and so is Mohit, and one part is like, okay, we have this problem statement and it's just like any other class project, like you just get excited,
Right.
About maybe Mohit remembers this, but we used to have like late night conversations where I just wake up and like, Mohit, wake up, I've got this idea, and it was something stupid, but it got us excited anyways. So so a part of it was that excitement, and a part of it was also that I already had experience. I worked as a senior software engineer before coming to US and for my master's.
Right.
So I already had sort of that experience, and also this like, I don't know whether we'll succeed as a startup, but I know for sure that this is what I want to be doing.
And yeah, that was the same for, like, I realized that it was the same for both of us. We both knew we wanted to go into entrepreneurship, but not on any random problem statement, right? Something that resonated with us
Totally.
and we could
As
continue.
engineers.
Exactly.
Right. Awesome. And this feels like a good way to kind of merge those two things.
Exactly.
Right. Got you. Okay. So let's go back to the last problem, I guess. What has the process been like of learning how to deal with / manage people? Because I feel like for a lot of people, that's, it's a very large learning experience, and I've talked to a lot of founders who have created products that I can't even imagine how they made it, but they've all said the hardest part was the people. Not even building the thing, the hardest part was dealing with the people. So what has that been like?
Definitely, and I do resonate with that, because hiring is difficult. Especially if I look back at our own decisions, where I thought that, okay, this person is going to be great and this person not so much. What do you think, like, at this stage has no correlation with what the actual result is.
Right.
And I just realized that, okay, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to... we shifted our track a little bit and just gave them work to do, like, irrespective of what your background is. If you want to help, you can help, and through that, like, some of the team members just shine, right? Like, they're able to solve problems really, really quickly, irrespective of what their background is. And that's like the best team building exercise we have had. Like, just allow people to be themselves. Like, what are they most interested in? Let them work on that, and if they do well in that, then they're part of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And another way this was a learning experience for us was, wherever we have worked in teams before, it was not exactly a startup team working at the concept stage. So we have observed that each startup and team, according to their own chemistry, has different needs. What are the tasks they have and what kind of people they want. It was like trial and error for us for first couple of months to actually realize, okay, this is where we actually need to put efforts, and we need these kind of people with us.
Right.
So that has been a learning experience as well.
Got you. Awesome. Have you guys encountered that kind of issue? Because I know that I have before, when you're working on an idea and you bring people on and it almost feels like you care more than everyone else,
Yeah.
Like, other people don't really, like, they're there because they're like, oh yeah, I'm here to work, I guess. But as the founders, you guys are really passionate about this idea, but other people may not have that drive. They're kind of just there because, like, like, has that...
Definitely, and that's where what I just said comes in. So those who are really passionate about it stick with us.
Right.
That's the whole point about, like, we let them stick with us if they're interested. If they're not interested, then, well, it's probably better for everyone that we part ways.
And that is, like, we are gonna have that issue throughout the journey.
Right.
Because
totally.
for founders, as you said, like, this is everything for us, right? So there is no one else is gonna have that level
Totally.
of motivation or dedication.
Right.
But it brings back to the point, okay, what each person is joining the team for, as you said.
Right.
If someone is joining to just get an experience for a few months and move out,
that's cool too.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, that's fun. That's cool too. But
Right,
yeah.
but it would be ideal to have people that are passionate about the idea.
Right. So, what has been more a better predictor of any one team member's success is what do they want rather than what they have, what skills they have, because any skills that you sort of are lacking in, you can improve that if you're passionate about it. So it's all about what drives you and what motivates you and why are you trying to get into this team. So that's what we try to understand when we're talking to new team members.
Right. Awesome. So I guess that kind of brings us to now. Like, what stage are you in with the product? What are like your next steps? I know you guys are doing a lot of, like pitching and winning prizes and stuff. Can you talk about your experience kind of, telling people about the idea and then I guess where you are right now with the product?
So we are right now in the process of iterating over our product. So this is something that I showed earlier, and this is one version of it. It's something that our users are using right now, but we feel we want to optimize this further before we release to the market. So we want to reduce the size of it and how it looks. So like we have upcoming version of this that I don't think you really realize that Mohit was wearing it.
Right.
So it's going from something this big to something this big.
Right.
And we are, I would say like 50%, 60% there. And we are aiming to hit the market sometime in December, January timeframe.
Got you. Awesome. And what would the process of hitting the market for a product like this look like? Because it's not like, you're selling some SaaS product or like you're selling, like something that's going to go on the shelves of Walmart, What is the process like of kind of selling something that's like so niche and specific? Yeah.
So for us, it's gonna more or less look like, luckily we have reached out and been connected to a lot of our potential users since last year.
Right.
So first is going to be just discussing with them and selling to them one-on-one. They have used it, it's just officially owning the product now.
Right.
But we have been observing and basically recording the profiles of how the user goes around and where they make contact with assistive technology. So what it's gonna look like is, first we are gonna maintain online sales. Eventually we might go to distributors, but right now anyone can just go to our website and order online. The way people find out about our product is first their community, the disabled community support, and that includes a lot of support groups and those community leaders, which we are having as our pilot users. Their opinion and recommendation matters everything to the next user. The decision maker in that case is validation from one of their own users. So if someone in a wheelchair sees another person in a wheelchair using our device, that's the one thing they need to make a decision to purchase.
Yeah, if it works for her, it should work for me.
Right. Got you. Yeah.
That's the direct to consumer approach, right? Making them aware of this amazing solution. But we are also targeting the enterprise or institutional ways. So that includes vocational rehab centers.
Every state has like a department for vocational rehab.
And they have allocated funding for disabled people to purchase these products who cannot afford that.
To gain employment, basically.
To gain employment.
Right.
Similarly, Department of Education provides support to go to schools using assistive technology. And then there are several big non-profits like Miami Project to Cure Paralysis, Center for Independent Living is in every state. So we'll be registered vendors with all of these organizations where people can also get it. So there are multiple contacts with user, potential contact points with user, and we are covering them all.
Gotcha.
And another actually interesting contact point for the user is with the occupational therapist. So if someone has been in an accident or something, obviously you go in the hospital and let's say you have physical therapy, etc., for your recovery, and then you have something called as occupational therapy, where they say that okay, we have this condition, how will we mitigate this to still be able to go to job, still be able to live independently, go to the shopping market, and or use computer, etc. And our goal is to sort of educate and make aware all the occupational therapists about our particular alternative out there, so they may be able to test that out with some of their patients and see whether this works for them.
Right. Got you. Awesome. So, like, I'm sure that obviously the bulk of the work that kind of goes into this is hardware and software, but since this is, specifically for a audience that I guess, might have needs that are in some sense like medical, do you guys have people that you talk to specifically about things like that, or has most of your feedback just come from users? Like, how do you kind of get that like medical / like occupational therapist type feedback? Is it just reaching out to people in that sort? Like, how is that kind of like interaction gone?
Yes, we have talked to occupational therapists also, like what works for them and what doesn't work for them, like from the point of view of like, because they have worked with a lot of people in the disabled community. So one particular user has his or her own problem to solve, but an occupational therapist has worked with many, right? So we basically have talked with occupational therapists and what they see are common problems and what are also their problems, in being able to work with their patients.
Got you. That makes sense. Cool. So I guess I have 2 more things for you guys. The first one is, what's the experience been like of learning how to pitch your idea? Because you've had to stand on stages and talk to investors and all sorts. So is that something that you guys have just like naturally been good at, or has been something you kind of had to learn?
It's not necessarily being naturally good at, but it's just that like when it's your baby, yeah, you want to talk about it with everyone, right?
Totally.
And you bring a different excitement to it because you're excited. So I don't think like I mean, I wouldn't talk about Mohit, but I don't think I'm a really good public speaker. But when it comes to this, I get very excited, and I don't necessarily think about it when I'm talking about it, just because I'm excited about this particular idea so much.
That makes sense. What's your experience been?
Yeah, more or less the same, but I've observed this change in how our pitches went over the year, right?
How's it changed?
From idea stage to everything else. So at idea stage, people were excited, but the question they ended up always having in their mind is, are these gonna do it actually? Because they're just talking, they don't have anything to showcase.
Totally.
And that was, and as we moved along, we shifted, and I think Parth has a very director-like sense of what makes appeal in a presentation to the audience. So if you look at all our wins, our users are the ones pitching for us in them. And
yes, we put them front and center in every pitch.
Really?
Yeah, irrespective of how bad we are at public speaking, just hearing something from the user is another a good value that we have. Yeah.
And the change in the response from investors or anybody listening changed as we showed progress. So it never was you're good to go or this is good enough. When we had showed more milestones or more progress, okay, we are just not talking, we have covered 2 steps now. That made a lot of difference.
Got you. Awesome. That's great. So you guys are kind of at this point, you said you're planning to release it in December, January?
Yeah.
You said, okay, so further than just that, what are your visions for this company in the future? Whether it's 5, 10 years, however long, what do you kind of see this turning into?
What we see as a team is our main value proposition, apart from this particular product, is just understanding the user needs and engineering our way through to solving those problems. So it's not just this particular product, but the same mindset, more importantly, can be applied to many problems. Starting with the most adjacent ones, so if you can use head movements to control your computer, maybe you can use it to control wheelchairs as well. And then similar way, you have voice inputs, so maybe you have voice specific programming applications, etc. So we see this as basically as I would call it, a springboard for future products. So this is basically our first iteration, this product, of being able to take a problem statement and solve it through engineering, like through products. But we just want to like sort of delve into more and more such verticals, I would say.
Totally. You have any input?
That's accurate. And the way we are always doing this in the background, so we are never like, okay, just focus on this product and let's start selling, and once it is done, let's think about the next. All of the possibilities that Parth discussed, we have kind of prioritized them, or what could be the next thing, and we are continuously judging while we are talking to users. So we have some proof of concept work done on the next couple of projects, and while we talk to users about current product, we also keep getting idea and feedback about
whether they need that particular product, what the market is for that particular, what the demand is.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much all I have.
Perfect.
I appreciate you guys taking some
Awesome.
time out of your day. This was great. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, homie.
Good to be on the early episodes.
right.
Next big hit. So.
Dope. All right. Thank you for checking out that episode of the Iterate Podcast. We appreciate you listening. You can find us on YouTube at the Iterate Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at wadboy_. That's WADBOY_. On Instagram at wadboy. That's WADBOY. And I hope you guys tune in for more episodes. Appreciate it.